I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So,
Justin Bieber's testimony in court confirmed something the industry has whispered about for years, but never dared to confront head-on.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a sec.
For the first time, he openly acknowledged that Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, was involved in activities that went far beyond mentorship.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Bieber spoke directly about being present at one of Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, a term long rumored but never officially acknowledged until now.
Do you think the person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%, yeah.
He didn't hold back. He said what happened at those events was wrong, and he's done staying quiet.
But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully... But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted.
It was the first credible public crack in a carefully guarded system. The freak-off parties were not just wild gatherings. They were structured, multi-day events allegedly used for more than entertainment.
And none other than Diddy. Take a listen.
Justin, you ever seen the movie For the Times of Their Lives? Where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Multiple former employees and insiders, including assistants and security contractors, have stated under oath that these events were surveilled using hidden cameras. GoPros were reportedly placed behind mirrors, inside air vents, even embedded in light fixtures. Video and audio feeds were allegedly backed up on private servers, organized, tagged, and archived.
I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full.
The intent was not to capture memories. It was to maintain leverage. Legal experts reviewing the leaked 2015 NDAs said the documents were unusually broad and aggressive.
Diddy very much initiated Usher. As we are going through these lawsuits and Diddy is in prison, we are recognizing that everybody knew. This was an open secret about what Diddy was doing. So it just begs the question, who allowed Justin Bieber to be in the presence of this man knowing what he was up to, allegedly up to? That seems to be very clear.
They included clauses about age misrepresentation, uncontested participation, and even a section waiving liability for emotional distress arising from executive-sponsored engagements. These were not standard confidentiality agreements. They were designed to protect one person and one person only.
This is a very big story, and the reason why we should discuss this and we should not diminish what is happening, it's not celebrity drama. This is actually the fall of Babylon that we are witnessing, Hollywood Babylon.
Why does a music executive need this kind of legal insulation if the events were just parties? One of the most critical developments tied to this narrative is the 2018 death of Kim Porter, mother of 3 of Diddy's children. Officially labeled pneumonia, the timing raised red flags. Friends say she had started collecting documents, texts, emails, possibly video files. Some believe she was preparing to go public. Weeks after her death, one of Diddy's private storage units mysteriously caught fire. The incident was never investigated publicly. Whether or not the two events are connected, the silence around them speaks volumes.
Yeah, I definitely feel protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Bieber's testimony also referenced the time he spent at Diddy's mansion when he was 15. At the time, it was framed as a mentorship weekend. Today, it looks different. Bieber admitted that while he didn't fully understand what was happening at the time, he now sees it for what it was: grooming.
But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted.
He also confirmed that he had a backup phone with him during that stay, which captured footage he later kept for his own protection. When a child star feels the need to record evidence for safety, something is deeply broken.
I'm not even kidding. Watching that clip makes me emotional because he is saying so much without really saying anything. Protect Billie Eilish from what? From who?
That moment in court reframed a lot of past interviews. In a 2020 conversation with Zane Lowe, Bieber became emotional while talking about protecting Billie Eilish. At the time, it sounded like empathy. Now, it reads like a projection. His breakdown wasn't just about her, it was about what he saw, what he experienced, and what he couldn't say. The subtext makes sense now. He wasn't trying to protect one person, he was trying to prevent another.
And weeks after the initial filing, Busby submitted an amended complaint naming Jay-Z as the celebrity who allegedly participated. They wanted copies of these videos.
Diddy has repeatedly positioned himself as a mentor to young artists. He's referred to Bieber as family and has compared their bond to the one he had with Usher. But those statements don't hold up anymore. With Bieber's sworn testimony and the context of sealed video evidence now being reviewed in court, what looked like mentorship increasingly looks like manipulation. What was called guidance may have actually been surveillance and control. The language has changed, and so has the narrative.
There's a big advantage to having the electronic video, the electronic evidence yourself, right? You don't have to always go over to the other office. You can view the materials on your own. It's a way to better prepare for your defense. And Sean Combs' lawyers argued that under the federal rules of criminal procedure, electronic data that is in the government's possession.
We now know that there's a backlog of video material. Several witnesses have confirmed the existence of a centralized archive. Legal teams are working to authenticate some of it, while others are attempting to suppress it entirely.
Judge Subramanian denied the defense's motion to amend the protective order, but without prejudice, meaning this issue could be revisited. So Subramanian's order reads, quote, while the government objects to handing the videos over, they provide several options for a defendant to consider that would permit the defense to view the videos, access the information they're looking for, and even allow them to manipulate the.
Bieber's contribution, a device with recovered footage, has reportedly been sealed by the court. But its existence alone has escalated the case from a civil matter into a potential criminal investigation.
Emails, the text messages, the words that she put, those words of affirmation.
And if more victims step forward, this won't stop with one trial. It will unravel an entire power structure. The moment the court learned there was a video was the moment everything shifted. Up until then, most of what the prosecution had was testimony, documents, and implication. But now, they had footage, not leaked, not rumored, sealed, and authenticated.
To make a statement towards the end of the week, after opening statements, after or towards the conclusion of Cassandra Ventura's testimony, when he makes a statement confirming that there were people harmed by Combs, does that signify to you that he believes?
The clip, which came to be known inside court circles as Freak Off Exhibit A, was allegedly recovered from an old encrypted drive that Justin Bieber hadn't touched in years. And no, it wasn't found by federal investigators. It was reportedly pulled by someone far closer. So how did a pop star's forgotten hard drive suddenly become the most dangerous piece of evidence in the courtroom?
He said other victims, well, through his spokesperson. So I think that is very, very important. This isn't a Michael Jackson type case where, celebrities are rushing to Combs' defense. Very few people are. And the fact that you have someone come out that really isn't 50 Cent or someone who, is trying to make light of it or a documentary about it and really point the finger at Diddy, that's a big deal, Jesse.
According to sources close to the case, the footage came from a backup Bieber had stored during the peak of his teen years. It wasn't labeled clearly. In fact, he didn't even know it still existed. The file was buried under layers of encryption. It wasn't until a longtime friend, someone with technical expertise, offered to help him sort through his old digital archives that the clip was discovered. 6 minutes long. Poorly lit, but clear enough. When your past resurfaces uninvited, sometimes it doesn't just haunt you, it changes everything.
You know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So,
The video reportedly shows Diddy orchestrating a scene involving Cassie and 2 other unnamed young performers. The faces are partially blurred due to motion and angle, but Diddy's voice is unmistakable.
yeah, if she ever needs me, just think about how young I was and so impressionable. And you have everybody telling me how awesome I am at all times, you know.
Legal analysts confirmed that forensic audio experts matched the voice sample with previous recordings already on file. In the footage, Diddy is seen giving commands, selecting music, directing lighting, treating the whole environment like a film set. There was no camera crew in sight. That's because the cameras were the walls.
I just want people to understand, like, the psychology behind why I potentially could have problems in my life.
It's not just what the video showed. It's how intentional it all looked. Once it was confirmed that the footage was legitimate, the prosecution moved fast. They submitted it under seal, meaning only the judge, jury, and select attorneys were allowed to view it. Diddy's legal team wasn't even aware of its existence when the court session opened that morning.
There isn't, and the defense is obviously trying to separate physical harm from sex trafficking and sexual assault, but the average person who's watching isn't going to be making that distinction. That may matter in the case, but it's not going to matter in the court of public opinion.
That wasn't accidental. Prosecutors knew that if Diddy saw the clip before Cassie took the stand, he'd try to suppress it. But they also knew they needed her words to match what was on the screen. It wasn't just about playing the tape. It was about backing the tape with someone who lived it. Cassie took the witness stand later that day. There was no drama in her walk, no visible fear, just focus. This time, she didn't just speak about patterns of control or verbal abuse. She referenced the tape directly. "He told me if I ever opened my mouth," she said, "that he had footage."
There's got to be independent witnesses that, saw some of this, right? I'm not saying maybe the actual freak-offs themselves, maybe there are other participants, but, Combs was very public, and Cassie Ventura, to the extent that she was abused, look, it's like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right? You got Kate Moss.
And that if he released it, I'd never work again. The courtroom fell completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody coughed. Because at that moment, everyone understood. This wasn't just alleged abuse, it was documented blackmail. We weren't hearing about trauma, we were hearing about a strategy. She described the contents of the video without prompting. She mentioned the red lighting, the furniture in the room, the exact song that was playing. She quoted phrases Diddy used, lines that matched audio from the exhibit exactly. This wasn't guesswork, it was confirmation. She also dropped a detail no one expected. Bieber had once warned her. At an after-party years ago, he pulled her aside and said, "What happened to you wasn't right. I saw it too." For the first time, the story wasn't just hers. It had a witness. That line changed everything. Courtroom reporters noted that multiple jurors looked straight at Bieber as soon as she said it. They weren't waiting for him to testify anymore. They were already listening to him through her. It was the first time anyone linked Bieber to that night directly, and the implication was undeniable. He hadn't just seen something inappropriate. He had seen the very thing she was now describing in front of a federal court. When 2 stories line up under oath and under pressure, it's no longer a narrative. It's a pattern.
Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister, of rape. This guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job.
The defense didn't have much to say. Diddy's attorneys objected, but the judge overruled them. Cassie was allowed to continue, and she did, methodically. She testified that Diddy had warned her about people like Bieber turning on him. She said Diddy used to brag that Justin knows better than to speak out. But now, the courtroom knew that wasn't true. Bieber had spoken. Through the footage, through his earlier texts, through the fact that this tape even existed. And once you break the silence, the protection that power buys begins to vanish.
Kind of straddled the line between awkward and inappropriate. And Bieber sometimes seemed really uncomfortable.
The judge confirmed that the video would remain sealed from public release, at least for now. But multiple attorneys have said it's only a matter of time before the footage becomes a central piece of evidence in a wider criminal case. If prosecutors prove that the video was used for coercion, or that it involved any non-consensual conduct, or worse, underage victims, this goes beyond civil penalties. We're now talking federal charges. Felonies. Years, not settlements.
A civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000.
What started as a media headline could end in a maximum sentence. And let's be honest, if Bieber hadn't found that file, this wouldn't be happening. The entire case would still be built on statements and speculation. But one encrypted clip changed the course of the courtroom. It validated Cassie's claim. It put Diddy on defense. And it cracked the door open for others to walk through, because now the jury doesn't just have to believe her. They've seen enough to know they can.
Very likely going to be other celebrities, so I think we're just starting to scratch the surface when it comes to that.
It started slowly, barely noticeable to anyone not watching him closely. But the signs were there. Sean Diddy Combs was unraveling, even before Justin Bieber entered the courtroom. His jaw tightened in waves. His right leg bounced under the table. He kept asking for his phone, even though it had already been confiscated. The room wasn't tense yet, but Diddy was, and people were beginning to notice. When a man known for controlling rooms starts losing control of himself, it's never just nerves.
We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Courtroom sketch artists captured what cameras couldn't: a red face, beads of sweat, and eyes that couldn't settle. He wasn't anxious, he was angry. Observers in the gallery noted how Diddy's lawyer leaned in multiple times to whisper something calming, each time met with a cold stare or a visible shrug. Meanwhile, prosecutors were huddled behind folders, whispering fast, their eyes darting to the door.
Combs is also sexually abusing men and boys and children. So, again, not charged in the criminal case, but given those allegations out there, I think it's something that people are going to pick up on.
Something was shifting behind the scenes, and Diddy knew it had everything to do with Justin. That shift came fast. The judge, after a short sidebar, approved an unexpected witness switch. Bieber would testify early. It was a procedural move, but in the courtroom, it landed like a bomb.
So, according to sources who spoke to TMZ, Bieber was actually friends with Combs' sons, and that many of his past public appearances with Combs have been, quote, performative. So in 2015, Combs presented Bieber with an American Music Award for Best Collaboration and gave him a big hug on stage. And then in 2020, Bieber did an interview with Apple Music. And in it, he expressed how he wishes he could protect other young artists like Billie Eilish.
Diddy's legal team immediately stood up, objecting to the timing, citing chain of custody issues regarding the newly submitted video file. But the judge wasn't buying it. She overruled the motion and told the room to prepare for a new direction. The moment Diddy couldn't stop Bieber from taking the stand was the moment his defense cracked.
Possible abuse in Bieber's past could be a source for some of his bad boy behavior and potential mental health problems in recent years. Now, Nima, that could be a stretch. Some could see it as a connection.
The defense scrambled to adjust, but the damage was already done. Reporters tweeted out the witness list update before Diddy could fully react. His lawyer leaned in one final time, urging calm. Diddy shook his head. His knuckles turned white on the edge of the table. This wasn't legal strategy anymore. This was personal. And the person about to speak was the one he believed would never turn.
I've had conversations with people about it, and it's like, Jesus, like just trying to get the documents, like when they're trying to get the Epstein files, like the state of New York, one of the district attorneys was hiding documents that have forced them to give documents. I think there's so many fucking powerful people that are on those lists.
He described the video, how it had come from an old backup drive. He admitted he only looked at it again after hearing about the court proceedings. At the time, I thought it was just crazy. Now, I see what it was, he said. When asked why he didn't come forward sooner, his answer was short. Because I didn't know who would protect me, and now I know who needs protection more.
There's so many powerful people that went and partied. Air quotes, partied. And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trials. Wild.
The courtroom didn't gasp. It didn't need to. The impact was in the silence that followed. Bieber then referred to a message Cassie had sent him years earlier, the one that stuck with him. "You don't know what he's capable of," she had written. Bieber looked up from the stand and said, "Now I do." It was the most direct acknowledgement that he believed her.
Going to get
Think he's
hit up.
insane, though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another Epstein.
There's
It's
murder
another
case.
Ghislaine Max.
That her fears weren't irrational, they were accurate, and that what they both experienced was part of the same pattern. One line from a text became the emotional spine of a legal war. What followed was one of the most controlled but powerful courtroom moments to date. The judge allowed a redacted clip of the footage to be played, audio only, with blurred visuals.
LeBron?
Yeah, how Ashton Kutcher, all these people. Like, you guys all went, you didn't see nothing? You didn't see nothing?
Yeah.
Donnell.
What mattered was not what was seen, but what was heard. Diddy's voice, his instructions, his tone, Cassie's voice, low and uncomfortable. The music, the pacing. It wasn't explicit. It didn't have to be. It matched Cassie's testimony exactly. When separate accounts match the tape, doubt leaves the room. Diddy's reaction was immediate. He leaned forward, then back. He shook his head slightly. His eyes closed and opened again slowly. His lawyer whispered something, but Diddy didn't respond.
The difference between Diddy parties and freak-offs. Oh, my God.
They're giving him shit, too, because he's sitting in his
Oh,
his
the
lap,
guy from
basically.
Chappelle Show?
Yeah.
And then
He's in between
Dave's
his
there,
legs.
too. And then Russell Simmons, too. Oh, boy.
There were no outbursts, not yet. But the courtroom saw a man who realized he had lost control of his narrative in real time, and there was nothing left to throw at the wall. Even power looks small when the evidence finally starts talking. Bieber concluded by saying, "I never wanted to be here doing this, but if one voice can help protect someone else, then I'm willing to speak." That line won't go away. It'll be quoted. It'll be repeated in future trials. It'll be framed as the moment the wall of silence broke completely. Bieber didn't testify for revenge. He testified for protection, and that makes him harder to discredit.
Celebrities. Yeah.
Yeah.
And get them to say whatever you want them to do. Get them to do whatever projects you'd like them to do. And, you know, if you're a bunch of other celebrities are there, you're like, oh, look, Bill Clinton's here. This is fine.
Yeah.
It was the outburst everyone feared, but no one truly expected. Moments after Justin Bieber's testimony concluded, Diddy stood up, shoved his chair back, and lunged across the defense table. His voice cracked through the courtroom. "Justin betrayed the code. That tape was never meant to see daylight." What started as disbelief turned instantly into fury. He pointed toward the prosecution's desk, yelling about fake tapes and fabricated evidence, ignoring the immediate commands from court officers to sit back down.
Now, if that's not an intelligence agency operation, it's just one fucking evil super genius who figures out how to compromise everybody by providing this crazy freak-off party. Everybody's got to put their phones away.
Security responded within seconds. One officer moved in from the aisle, another from behind. As Diddy tried to approach the prosecution team, shouting over everyone in the room, he was physically restrained. His lawyer attempted to calm him down, but Diddy shoved his own legal counsel away, still shouting. The judge, who had maintained composure through 2 full days of testimony, banged the gavel 3 times and ordered the courtroom cleared. Control had left the building, and Diddy wasn't just losing the case, he was losing himself.
Diabolical human being.
Yeah.
He seems pretty diabolical.
He's probably working with somebody. Or for somebody.
Maybe.
And maybe he just got too far out there.
Jurors were ushered out quickly, but not before several visibly reacted. One woman covered her mouth. A man near the front turned his chair slightly, as if to shield himself. Others stared directly at Diddy, who continued shouting about betrayal and lies as he was pulled back toward the defense table. It wasn't just disruptive, it was dangerous, and the court treated it as such. You can lose a legal argument, but when you lose the room, that's unrecoverable. The judge wasted no time. She ordered a full psychiatric evaluation before the next hearing. She also suspended all electronic privileges for Diddy's team. No phones, no tablets, no direct communication tools allowed near the bench. The courtroom that once saw Diddy as the most powerful man in the room was now seeing him escorted out under full security supervision. But the damage is done, and now the press has the story of the decade.